hello out there, and welcome to the Danny.
And Riana's show. This is Danny Pena, Riana's husband.
And this is Riana Manuel Pena, Danny's wife. Today we have another very special guest. Danny, can you tell the people who we are speaking with?
Yes, well, one of the creators I also follow through social media for a while now because I'm always doing research. Like, hey, I need to find the creators over there that can give us some information about Dominican Republic. Those especially that have been moving from United States to DR, and one of them is Anthony Lopez. He's involved with a lot of things. I know one of them is Dominican Bridge and a couple other ones that we're going to be talking about that. But Anthony, welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
Thanks. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
No problem, no problem. Now, for those that don't know much about you, Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do over there in Dominican Republic?
Yeah, so I do a couple of things. I moved here about 2 years ago. August actually is going to be 2 years now. And coming from Florida, I was in Florida about 8 years. And over here, I'm just working on a couple of projects. I have Dominican Bridge. I have Content Blueprint. I have the ad company and View Media as well. And so I'm doing a couple of my own projects here in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. And what made you decide to move to DR and also start these businesses over there instead of living here in the States?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, but ultimately, I guess if I were to summarize, my oldest son was getting ready to go to school, and we're just not very comfortable. We don't have to really get into everything that's going on in the U.S., but we're very comfortable with the idea of him going to school in the U.S., and so that was the main driver. But I'll tell you, even before that, I have had probably close to a decade that I wanted to make the move just to kind of like connect with my roots. I've been coming here since I was little, and every year, but 1, 2, 3 weeks don't cut it, for me. And so or didn't cut it. And so I wanted to live here and also have my kids experience living here and not lose that culture.
Mm-hmm. Ree?
Yeah, I mean, without being, uncomfortably revealing, this is whatever you want to share with the audience. Your kids are what ages now?
Yeah, my oldest kid is about to be 6 and my youngest is 2.5.
So have you noticed anything notable in that upbringing, right? With your oldest versus your younger kid who has pretty much had only experience in DR?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that question. So, yes, absolutely. There is a huge difference and it's the culture, right? Over here, the culture is very different, of course, than in the US. And just being around that, I guess influences them in a different way. And I just really like what I'm seeing so far. I mean, the last 2 years, my son has changed. Obviously he's young, he's younger, but the things that he's interested in are different as well. Like he's more acceptable to the fact that we're more in nature. We go out a lot more. We're more social with other kids and so on. And so it's not about being at the house as much as it was in the US. Personally, of course, everybody has their experiences, and this is my experience in the US was one of just a lot of consuming on TV and stuff, where over here, because of the culture, it's just like naturally, of course, if you want to stay in your house and consume, let's say, or just be a homebody, which is something wrong with that, then absolutely you could do it. But you're gonna see, you're gonna have neighbors and friends and family that are gonna be like, no, we're going to the beach, or we're going this, we're doing that, and we're going to the pool. It's warm weather year round, very very much like Florida, and so that has definitely influenced their kind of like personalities and the way that they're acting now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we want to move to Dominican Republic because I feel, and look, I used to go there, oh my God, almost every year. I will go there sometime even twice a year with my mom when I was a kid. And you're right, like a month or two is not enough. Like honestly, when we moved there to San Francisco Macorís, that was like one of the best time of my life, like being there and experiencing DR and meeting the community. Like I found my gaming community because I'm into games and everything, right? So I found you will find all types of people over there, man. And I feel like there's a lot of people that will get together, do a lot of activities outdoor. We'll play baseball and everything, right? So And that's something that you also missed in previously, like while living in Florida and other places where that community part of it, you were missing. You missing that around there?
Yeah, I mean, so we had a lot of friends and some family in Florida,
Hmm.
and so I loved living there. And before that, we were in Texas, and before that, Jersey, but originally from New York. Just you know, I'm not sure we're gonna go there, but in Florida, we were there almost 8 years, and so we did have a lot of friends and family, but it's just something about U.S. culture that as much unless you live in the middle of nowhere out in like a farm area or something like that, it just look, I'm in a city right now. I'm in Santiago, and it's still very much different than in anywhere I lived in. Like I mentioned, I lived in 4 different states, and so it's just a different flow. It's a different culture, and so yes, we did have friends and family over there in Florida, but it was just different. It's a little bit hard to explain. Um, Overall, it's just because the culture is different, you get to experience it just much different, you know.
Hmm.
Can I ask Anthony, because this is something that I've been kind of contemplating a lot lately, with our upcoming move. What is your family's approach to embracing the culture of Dominican Republic, which it sounds like it fits your family a lot better, but also making sure you don't lose what your family back home in America can bring to your family and your kids' experience. Because I know as a Black woman specifically, I don't want them to lose that part of their heritage. And just like when we first had our daughter, I wanted to make sure she was really connected to her Dominican heritage here when we live in California. That's still important for both sides of our family when we move. So what is your thought on that, and how is your family making those types of plans and arrangements?
Rihanna, that is a great question. And I will tell you, you have nothing to worry about. And this is why. So there's a huge community, as you know. I mean, we've been talking about Dominican Bridge. There's a huge community of people just like you, just like us here living in the Dominican Republic. And so you have a huge choice, especially where you guys are planning to move in Punta Cana. I mean, it's everywhere in the country. Don't get me wrong. Santiago, it's alive and kicking. We have a huge community here, as you know, or may know. Dominican Bridge started from here, from Santiago. There's a huge community of us here, and so that would not be an issue. You still have a lot of things, especially in the school, depending which school. If you guys put your kids in school and those things, you're gonna see there's so I was talking to Julio about this, right, with Dominican Bridge on a podcast. Living
Hmm.
here still gives me the opportunity to be American as well, because it's a very accepted culture here, right? It's not something that's like, oh, it's very accepted. Some people actually are adapting to a lot of things, even like Halloween and stuff over the years. You're seeing more and more people just kind of like, even though it's like more of I'll say originated in Europe, but Eastern Europe, but American thing the last, I don't know, 50 years or whatever it is, 100 years. But over here, they're starting to do that. Whereas when I was a kid, that wasn't a thing here. I remember that was never a thing. They didn't even know what Halloween was. And so, um, that is a really good question. And I just honestly think, and what just personally from what I experience, it's not something that you lose. What they're losing, in my opinion, what I deem to be the bad qualities of the culture over there, those are the things that they're losing, which I'm totally fine with, because but just in general, there's still very huge like American influence here, naturally throughout its history here, being geographically speaking, we're close to the US. And so yeah, that I do not personally think that would be an issue with you.
Yeah, we
That's
always
great
have
to
that.
hear.
We always have this conversation all the time, and we're always trying to figure out like, okay, what we could do. But I also bring that up a lot. Actually, we went to Punta Cana a couple of times now for like the past year or so, and we get to see all types of different people there from all over around the world that lives in Punta Cana, and also in Santo Domingo and other places. So that's something I think we shouldn't be worried about. But it's a great question, I think, to talk about that. But Anthony, so I was gonna ask you, man. So I know you lived in Santiago. So out of all the places in DR, why Santiago? And I know recently you've been bringing up a lot about thinking about moving to Punta Cana. And what made you decide to maybe in the future to move over there too?
Yeah, so I want to say this. The thoughts I've had about moving to Punta Cana um are just thoughts that I think are very reasonable and logical for me with the little ones that I have and my wife coming from Florida. Punta Cana reminds me a lot of Florida actually with its infrastructure, and we're still in DR, which is the greatest part personally, and the culture's still there. You still hear bachata merengue everywhere because it's a touristy spot. So kind of like if you go to Mexico in like a tourist area, you're gonna hear a lot of Mexican music. You're gonna hear traditional music, and then also see a lot of the food and the culture kind of being shown. It's kind of like that. So, and there's many Dominicans there. And in fact, by far, there are mostly Dominicans there, and even the people that come from different areas in the world, like the U.S., Canada, Europe, there are Dominican diaspora like us, Danny. And so I love that aspect of it. But to answer your question, also the first part of it, Santiago is where my family's from. Not Santiago, the city specifically, but the region, San Jose de las Matas, is where they're from, which is about an hour away. And it was just really a no-brainer to come to this area because I have family here. I grew up coming to this area specifically. The city is booming right now. I mean, it's just incredible what's happened here since I moved here. I mean, literally the first year, you've got these 3 or 4 major hotel chains that opened up. It's nicer than the ones that in the US is incredible. The mall, I've never seen a mall so modern. And so, I mean, it's a brand new mall, but that opened up during the first year. There you could tell they've put a lot of planning, a lot of the companies and business people here and outside that are investing here as well into this country. And so um, Santiago was a no-brainer for me. Like I said, my family lives here, and just to be clear, as long as I'm in the country, I don't think it's a bad thing for me to want to live anywhere here. And if you
That's
know
true.
anything about my background, I've lived in so many different places, and I've been traveling since I used to be a musician before when I was a teenager for like about a decade, and so I've traveled the world, and so I'm not one to be that you won't find me sticking around in one place for a very long time. Let's put it that way.
That's cool.
We can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. And you're right too. Santiago is changing a lot. Like I've been seeing all the videos of all the new things that we've been seeing there too. So like, and it's still growing. Like there's still more stuff coming up in the future. So that's really
Oh
cool, man.
yeah, no, there is. I see it every week. There's something new every week that I'm having conversations. You see the construction, but that's in the whole country. You travel throughout the country. That's one of the first things I always notice is like, man, it's like this is what growth looks like. It's like just construction trucks everywhere, just new money coming in, people that keep coming from Santiago is a big, huge region, and El Cibao, even a lot of people come. Santiago is the second biggest city in the country, and you see the growth coming in from the outskirts, and then now also from outside as well, where you would more likely to see that before in like the North Coast, Punta Cana, and Santo Domingo, which is the biggest city here. It's huge for business, and so yeah, there's a lot of great things happening here.
So, Anthony, I'm curious to hear how your businesses started because, Danny and I, as you know, we've talked offline about wanting to bring more opportunities to the place where we live, right? We were not there just to extract value and live in this amazing culture and eat all the beautiful food and not give back. And our way of doing that is to bring opportunities to people they wouldn't have had if we weren't there. But I'm curious because you have so many things that you're working on and you've had all of this life experience in the States. How has that translated and what did you not know when you started all of these ventures?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what did I not know? I'll tell you this much. As much as I learned, and I've learned a lot throughout my experiences in the US, I read a lot of books, all this, the self-help books and those things, and took a lot of classes. I used to be in real estate also for the last couple years, and so I did, I took a lot of classes on business development and growth, and then I didn't finish college, but I did go to college for a couple semesters, and it was business, right? Business management, business administration, and so I did learn a lot over there. But as much as I learned a lot, and you could put that into practice here, I've also learned from the local community here, because there's such an entrepreneurial kind of culture here in the country. And that's actually one of the many reasons, I mean, I have so many, that I wanted that my kids to come here, and for us to come here, is because in the States, it tends to be a little bit more school oriented and get your degree and go to, I'm not saying that doesn't exist here. Professionals do this all the time here, but it's a lot more entrepreneurial. And so I have had learned a lot from living here as well. It's not just applying from what I learned from living out of this country. And I think I would say what you guys are looking to do, and how one of the ways you could help, which is something that I know we've talked in the gaming world. It's something that is booming here. I know Danny has told me there's a lot of talent here, and you guys could really make some noise and really help out people with all the connections that you have. They're gonna be so grateful that you guys are gonna be helping them out, and kind of introducing them more to the world, right? Because a
Hmm.
lot of people don't know that there's a lot of talent here in this country, and not just in the gaming world, but just with many things and many type of industries and niches.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And Anthony, I think we briefly talked about this. That's how I learned about business. It was because through my mom and my dad. I started my own business in DR. I was like maybe like 14 years old, maybe 15. But doing that over there, and it was like a gaming store. People will go in and play my games. I will charge them per 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and so on. But at that time, it didn't even exist over there. Now you see that type of thing all over the place in DR. So like and you're right, like I learned all that was because I was living in DR, and I learned that also from my parents and from my family and so on. And I want to do the same exact thing for our kids, once they get older, even if they're living there in Dominican Republic or elsewhere. I want them to do the same, start, creating their own business and so on, really,
Yeah,
really
no,
cool.
absolutely. It's funny you mentioned the charging for. Are you talking about like those type of setups where you have the computers and you charge per 15, 30 minutes and stuff?
Well, for me, it was in the early 90s. So for me, I had multiple Super Nintendos and multiple Sega Genesis, and I had like a bunch of TVs. And each console you could put two controllers, unless you have like an adapter, which you could put more controllers. So I was charging people to play my Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games back then. So like
Are
Mortal
you talking about like
Kombat.
in your house? Like in your house?
Nah, we rented out an office. So
Oh, so
and
this is why
yeah,
I asked, because I remember I think it was more in the late 90s to early 2000s. That was like a big thing.
yeah.
I'm from Corona, Queens, right? And there was really not something like that there in the area. I'm sure it was in other areas, like in Flushing, Queens. I remember it was more, there were more like type of businesses like this. But I remember these gentlemen that started out of like made an office out of an apartment, and we would go in and play what was it, Quake 3 Arena, and
Oh
all
yeah,
those.
yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
remember that?
Yeah,
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 I
yeah.
remember. So that's
So I would,
what I thought of.
yeah. So instead of the house, it was in an office. But my mom, every time she will go to New York, she will buy like some games, bring it to DR, and I'm like, yo, I'm the only one with this new new game. So like when Super Nintendo came out, she was in the States when that happened, and she just bought it. And I was like the first person in the whole city with Super Nintendo, So like I had that in a
Nice.
couple of games. But yeah, I started doing my business like that, man. So because of that, it helped me to buy a little motorcycle as a young teen. 'Cause-
Nice.
yeah, yeah, it's really cool, and hopefully we could do more of those type of like new, innovative things over there in DR. And you're right, like there's so much talent in DR, like with everything. But from our side, seeing the games and apps created in Dominican Republic, I'm like, man, there's so much potential for people to see this, from outside of DR. So
That's awesome. I'm definitely looking to forward to seeing what you guys how you guys help everybody here in that industry.
Yeah, can't wait, can't wait. Now, my question is, man, tell us a little bit about Dominican Bridge. It's something I'm not gonna lie. Every time I see, I'm like, damn, I wish I was there. You
Yeah,
know?
the FOMO is real.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I saw the one that you guys did with Jay in Santo Domingo. Was that the first one? Oh no.
No, no. So we started from Santiago. We're
Oh,
based
okay.
here in Santiago, and we started from Santiago. We've done or held like business mixer events. We've held like that same type of launch event is the one you're referring to in Santo Domingo.
Hmm.
And so with the one with in Santo Domingo was, like I said, a launch event, just kind of introducing ourselves to the city with Jay being our city partner there, our Santo Domingo city partner.
Hmm.
And we recently to Punta Cana. Now we're going to the North Coast, and then Jarabacoa. We have plans for that, and then possibly Las Terrenas. So all the major cities here in the country. And yeah, it's a community for like-minded people, just like you and I, that chose to live in DR and to build here and to establish roots here in the country. Not someone really that's looking to just kind of like be passing through. And so we want people that are invested into the country, that are looking, like Rihanna said, to give back, to grow with the country, and get involved in the culture. And so what we do is we hold events like the ones that you mentioned that we've been talking about. We have a newsletter where we talk about news that actually affects the community that we have, and so people really enjoy that. And we have a podcast as well, which you guys are hopefully going to come on. Definitely invited to come on, and
Yep.
where we talk about our journeys and just talk to some guests, and then just cultural things like that. And so that's pretty much what Dominican Bridge is.
Yeah, yeah. Can't wait to be on the podcast for sure. But I can't wait to meet other people that also live in the same city as us, because I know Punta Cana was a very successful event for you guys, So congrats on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you. So the reason the Dominican Bridge even happened is because Julio, my partner, that he's been here for about 8 years, and he didn't really have a lot of like-minded people, especially early on in his time here. And so that's been developing over time. Obviously, the last couple of years it's been accelerating more. And he found out that they were already here. A lot of them were here. He just they didn't know how to find each other. And so the Dominican Bridge is something, it's a passion project. And when my story is, when I right before moving, so I wanted to move for a long time. I came to one of Jamie Gruber's event. You know Jamie from
Yeah, yeah.
Punta Cana,
Hmm.
and he made an event here in Santiago, and that's where I met Julio. Actually, I met Jonah Gomez. I met Nulise, Francis, Wilton, Doug. I met a lot of people that day, and we did this little chat, and I'm like, man, that's what convinced me. That put me, I told Jamie this, that put me over the edge to actually make the move. I didn't realize how important that was to me. I didn't even consider it. I was ready to come here as I've done, and kind of like connect with the roots, which so now you get best of both worlds. You don't leave the kind of like what you're used to as far as talking to like-minded people that's had similar journeys, where you could connect a little bit more on that anyway. Back behind, you still have that here, and then you get to also get I'm trying to translate this now. I'm thinking in Spanish, but kind of involved with the local culture as well. And so it's a great time right now. That things are going very well for the country, and it's developing very well. And so I'm very happy that I made the move.
That's awesome. Ree?
That's such important work to do. And, Danny and I go to lots of events every year for the gaming industry, gaming business, right? We just came from Icon, which is by the ESA up here in the States. And meeting with CEOs, presidents, people who are making the Mortal Kombat movie, like people who are doing lots of really important crossover projects. And I'm curious to know, with Dominican Bridge, how have those networking opportunities impacted the community that's a part of the organization? Like, are people working together, starting new projects together. Like that's really what we're excited about, and we're so excited that something like that exists and is now
Mhm.
coming to Punta Cana. So what have you seen come out of Dominican Bridge so far?
Yeah, well, then you're gonna love what I'm about to say. So
Cool.
the one of like I mentioned, why we were so passionate about starting a platform like Dominican Bridge, and that's great. And so what we noticed along the way is all the connections that we're making. Okay, so with like-minded people come now opportunities. So we have businesses, we have projects that we're interested in. The people that we're meeting also are very growth minded. And so there's a lot of collaborations happening, a lot of partnerships. There's a lot of VC like type of opportunities. Um, or sorry, joint ventures. Sorry, not VC. I'm thinking joint venture opportunities. And so, uh, yeah, that is a huge thing. The more you connect and the more this platform grows, the more you see, wow, there's a lot of opportunities in connecting, not only for business, but for a lot of other powerful things. Giving back to the community is one of them. And so, because you have all these experiences elsewhere, and may have be better organized to do certain things. Now you get to bring that here and collaborate with everyone. And so I think you'll find that a little bit interesting for you, being that this, like sounds like that's important for you as well.
Oh,
Yeah, building
100%.
building a bridge back to what we do here.
There you go. There you go. What the thing that surprised you the most ever since you made the move to Dominican Republic for you personally?
Man, there's a lot of things. What I come back to is just a lot of little cultural things. Naturally for me, just kind of things that I was told by my family growing up. It's just not very true. A lot of the things about this country, I know that it's been of rapid development the last couple years specifically. It just keeps accelerating.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of cultural things that I've heard growing up from my parents that and my family that is just simply not true, or maybe it's just not true anymore. I don't want to get into a lot of things are more political, and so I don't like really to get into those things because everybody has their own opinions. But I could say also maybe the driving. I'll say this, like this is it's so many things, but like the driving, it is definitely different than in the US. And I've lived in different states where even in the States is like, oh man, people in Texas are crazy, or people in Florida, man, they don't know how to drive. But people in New York also might have their things, and California and
Mhm.
so on. And so over here, the driving is definitely different, but there is a flow to it. Like I've noticed when it's like the seasonal times where a lot of the diaspora especially come here, and I call them tourists. And I was like, this is like a fun little thing. I was like, oh, you guys are just tourists. You don't live here, right? They're
Mhm.
Dominican, but when they come here, it kind of throws things off whack. You see a lot of people doing weird things that yes, there's a lot of weird things coming from the outside in. For them, that's normal. But then when you have people coming outside and they're like thinking maybe there's no rules here, or like, oh, it's DR, this Wild Wild West. It's like, no, the people here very much function within the rules, but their rules are different. That's all. The rules are different. They stick their nose in to get in. Doesn't mean they're gonna hit you. There's a lot of things that you got to get used to. It takes about for everybody's a little bit different. For me, it took about a month and a half, 2 months to like really kind of get used to and like see this style of driving. And I don't know if it's ironic, but or coincidentally, like when there's people that come here from the outside that think they know how to drive better, things get all screwed up, and then you see more
Hmm.
accidents and stuff. So I thought that was interesting. But there's a lot of things, that I've noticed that has surprised me, and then a lot of things that haven't surprised me. Like things like with they would have to do with paperwork or administration here, especially with the government. It is a lot slower. Things with the banks, it's just a completely different culture with customer service sometimes as well. So those things that I've kind of heard about. Oh, we are in a city. You hear I don't know if you guys heard
Yeah,
that.
I heard it. Hmm.
that you guys that we hear about there does exist, even though things are getting better with timing, and it just has to do a lot. I noticed with the culture here, and just with the way people, we're on island time, and so the people are just kind of like, hey, it'll get done when it'll get done, and that, it is what it is. So you kind of get used to that, though.
Yeah, and you have to have a lot of patience. With
Yes.
that. If you don't have patience, not for you.
Oh yeah, and and it takes it. I found myself being a little bit of I don't like using this term, but I guess it's called like a Karen now, right? In the U.S., they use that a lot. I
Yeah,
found myself being a little bit, man, like, oh, you gotta take care of me and all these things, and then after a while, I'm like, nah, they don't really care, and like, why am I like that? It's just weird. I was like, why am I acting like that? I
yeah,
fancy myself not to be that type of person in the U.S. So why am I acting like that here? Then I just got with the program. I don't even like kind of feel it anymore. I just expect everything to be the way it is here. And it takes a while, but you get used to it.
yeah. Rhea, any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, we have had so much of your time, and thank you so much for joining the show and for being so open about your experience. I know it's a vulnerable thing to share, like why you make such changes for families. So we really appreciate it because I know it helps us. I know it helps people who are listening, and we're so grateful. But kind of like the last question that I'll give you that's super pro me is what are your future plans look like? How often do you see yourself traveling internationally? What about your life in the DR is, inspiring your next moves?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to having DR serve as my base, home base. And so what does that mean? I am looking to travel, just not move out. This is definitely the place I want to be. You never know what happens in the future, but as of right now, I'm looking to be here long term and build roots here and grow with the community here. But I do want to travel. I've traveled a lot before, like I said, especially when I used to be a musician, and so I miss that. I want to travel with my family, so I'm setting everything up here. I'm looking for growth and for stability, and I'm also, yes, looking to travel. I would love to go to Brazil. I want to go back to Europe. My wife has never been to Europe, and I got the pleasure to go a couple times. And so she's like, hey, why do you want to go see all these places? Why don't we go to Europe? I know you've been there before, and so I want to take her. I want to take the kids. I feel like that's very important for us as a family to have different experiences. And so, yeah, I'm looking for growth, keep growing all the projects, collaborating, meeting new people, enjoying my time here with all the mountains we're surrounded by and the nature, the rivers, and then the beaches. Oh my God, the beaches are amazing. And so just loving my time here and looking to grow and then also experience different things with travel.
Yeah. My last question, and it's like a kind of like a two-part. The first part is, what advice would we give for those that are curious about moving to DR? Like what advice would we tell them, like, hey, what they should do first before making that decision, right? And the second one is for those people that, they live already there and they probably feel alone because they don't have a lot of people that they know there, which I advise them to check out Dominican Bridge. I think that would be the perfect way to meet other people like yourself that lives over there, right? What advice will give to those out there for both?
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends. Everybody's situation is different. So I would say if you're someone like me, diaspora, or just someone that's been here many times, know, and this is for everyone, really, know that there is an adjustment that has to be made. Really, you have to uh just be okay with that because there's no other way, there's no way around that. You do have to adjust, and it's a good thing. We grow as people. We have different experiences. I have I am one to think that I'm not interested in being in one place for the rest of my life. I'm just not. And so I've loved all these experiences I've had, and shout out to my wife for doing all these things with me. Because she moved with me from New York to New Jersey to Houston, Texas, to Florida, to now the Dominican Republic where she was born, and so this is something that, like I said, you want to adjust. Somebody that is thinking about maybe you're consuming some content creators content, or just like you've been here a couple times or even once and you're considering it, I would advise maybe coming here if you can for an extended period of time and just really kind of experiencing it before you make the move. I don't see many people that come and leave, but it does happen. Most people come and they just stay, but those people tend to have had different experiences and maybe a different mindset and different worldview
Hmm.
than maybe the majority of people. And so it's not too difficult for them to do. It's not too difficult for them to do if they're already moved around like myself. Like for me moving here, yes, a different country, but I was like, let's go. Like we figured it out. We'll figure it out again, you know, and I would keep doing it. But there's some people that maybe's been in the same place for a long time, and so you really want to kind of get used to the idea. Uh, Maybe don't tell anyone. I would advise
Good
against that.
advice.
I would definitely my next move. If I'm not gonna tell anyone. It's gonna be like, hey guys, me mudé. Like I moved. That's it. It's like, oh well, I can't tell you now not to do it because you know people come and kind of have all this advice, and it comes from a place of wanting to help. I truly believe that, but they don't know the disservice they might be doing to you, and so let people have their experiences and yeah, try to be responsible about it and be realistic as well. You have a plan. Don't just kind of like be like me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's some people that I know that do it and things work out. But have a plan. Have a plan. Be okay with the idea that there's going to be some challenges, but it may be worth it at the end. So.
Awesome. Well, great answer on that one. Now, my last thing is, Anthony, thank you so much for joining us, man, because it's been a great conversation overall. But if for those that would like to learn more about the stuff that you're doing or to follow you on social media, what are the places they should check out to follow you?
Yeah, so definitely my personal page is anthonylopez.rd on Instagram, YouTube as well. Anthony Lopez RD. I let that go for a while, but I'm looking to get back on there, and I really enjoy that the content I make on YouTube. At Dominican Bridge on Instagram and on YouTube as well.
Awesome. But thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.